Resourceful Designer, episode 345, The Two Sides of a Solopreneur.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host, who won a public speaking contest in high school in French, Mark Decote.
That's right, Wayne. Back in high school, my French teacher approached me. There was some sort of public speaking contest that was happening regionally, and our school didn't have anybody entered, and she asked if I would. Now, I was surprised because I knew I wasn't the best person in French. My marks weren't as good as some of the other classmates I had. But she chose me because I was the one who spoke French more naturally. I had less of an accent when I spoke French than my peers, and she wanted to give me a chance. Now, I remember being nervous as hell the first time I got up there, but the feeling I felt afterwards, after my presentation and after winning the presentation, was incredible. And I went on to enter many other public speaking contests, and I won a few. I didn't win all of them, but that one, I think, kind of opened the doors to me and led me to be a little bit of the person I am today, including podcasting with you. But it also gave me the comfort to talk in front of a large group of people, to be on a stage, which is apropos for today's topic because the idea for today's episode came from a time I was going to say when I was on stage, but no, it was when I went to a conference that I spoke at, but I wasn't the one speaking. Anyways, I'll get to that all in a minute. But before I do, I just want to ask you, have you checked out the Resourceful Designer community page at resourcefuldesigner.com/community? If so, what is it that's making you hesitate to join this wonderful group of designers who are all there to help support each other, offering tips, offering advice, offering support? We have so many people from different walks of life, different types of businesses, different places in the world, that are all helping each other to grow their design business. And at only $14.95 per month, it makes it very affordable. And don't forget, you can write that off as a business expense for your taxes. So there's no need for you to run your business by yourself when you can have a full team of people who understand what you're going through, know what's the ups and downs, and can help you along the way, because we're all there for each other. If that sounds like a place for you, please visit resourcefuldesigner.com/community and join today. Now, as I mentioned in my intro, I was at an event this past weekend. It was WordCamp Canada. Now, if you're not sure what a WordCamp is, it's a community gathering of people who use WordPress to build websites. Or let me expand on that a little bit more. People who are interested in WordPress, because there was a lot of people there that don't necessarily use it, but were there because they have businesses and they want to start a website and they were interested in learning more on how WordPress can help them. Well, I did give a presentation at the show. My presentation title was Beware, Your About Page May Be Costing You Clients, but that's not what I'm going to talk to you about today. There was another presentation that I sat in, and it was about email marketing. But that's not what I took away from it. During the presentation, one small part of it, the speaker talked about something, and that small nugget of information he shared stuck in my brain, and I thought to myself, I really want to make a podcast episode about this because I really like this idea, this concept he shared. So I took notes on just that one idea and developed it into this episode, The Two Sides of a Solopreneur. Now, my original title was The Two Hats of a Solopreneur. But since I already have an episode 38 of the podcast, titled The Many Hats of a Home-Based Graphic Designer, I decided I didn't want to use the word hats in two different titles like that. So, The Two Sides of a Solopreneur. Now, as I mentioned in episode 38, I talked about the many hats of a home-based graphic designer. And what I meant by that title was that as a home-based graphic designer, there are many different aspects of the job you have to do besides designing. I mean, you have to be a bookkeeper, you have to be a salesperson, you have to be an HR if you're hiring contractors or freelancers to help you out. You have to wear your accounting hat. There's just so many different hats to wear. Well, today I want to talk about two of those hats, namely the CEO and the employee. Because when you are running a business, you are both. You are both the CEO and an employee of your business. And both of them have two completely different roles. The CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, is in charge of determining the path the business will take. The CEO determines the services that you will offer. The CEO will determine the pricing, the structure, the fees. They'll also develop the marketing. How are you going to promote the business in order for it to grow? That's all the CEO's job. The employee, on the other hand, is the one actually executing the design jobs. The employee is the one that talks to the clients and interacts with the clients. And those are two completely different roles. An employee's job is not to plan the future and strategy of a business or to figure out how to achieve that vision. No, the employee, when you are wearing that hat, your job is to execute, to get things done. The money coming into the business relies on the employee getting work out. In other words, the employee executes the strategy that the CEO comes up with. Now remember, you are both these people, but you have to mentally distance these two from each other and acknowledge the roles that each of these positions have in your business. The CEO's job is to come up with the strategy. The employee's job is to implement that strategy. Now, the reason to differentiate these two roles is because if you don't, then you'll likely end up in the scenario where you want to do something for your business. Maybe you want to improve your website or you want to look at your pricing structure, but you end up keep putting them off because there's work to do. There's something else to do. Client work is always more important. But whenever you think that way, you're thinking from an employee's standpoint. You're thinking that the client is the most important thing. And I'm not saying that a client is not important, because without them, you don't have a business. But on the same side, or the flip side maybe, if you don't have the proper strategy or vision for the business, you're not going to get clients to begin with. Now, when the presenter I saw shared this notion of being a CEO and an employee in your business, he made another great point. And that is that a CEO should never work at the employee's desk. No matter what business you go to, the CEO is always separate. The CEO will never work in the same location, workstation as the typical employee. And neither should you for your business. It's recommended that when it's time to strategize about your business, come up with the visions, think about pricing, the structure, your advertising, your marketing, and all that stuff, step away from your regular workplace. You want to put on your CEO hat and go somewhere else. Maybe it's somewhere else in your house. Maybe it's a coffee shop. Maybe it's a bench in the park, whatever. You want to take yourself away from the quote unquote employee's desk in order to work on your business. That way you have no distractions. It may even be an idea to leave your computer and your phone and all that behind. Bring a pad and paper and just brainstorm ideas for your business. And this is something you need to do on a fairly regular basis, whether you do it for an hour per week or a couple of hours per month. The CEO job of your business is very important. You have to take time to focus on your business growth. And you can't do that while sitting at the employee's desk working on client work. It doesn't work that way. So the CEO needs to take time away from the desk in order to strategize ideas for the business. And as I said, it's great to do this unplugged. You don't want to be bothered with emails or with phone calls while you're doing the CEO work. Remember, the CEO doesn't deal with clients. He lets the employee do that. So when you're back at the desk and you're taking on the role of the employee, that's when you can answer emails or you can reply to phone calls and that. but not when you're the CEO. Now, the other thing is the CEO, because they are the one structuring the business, the CEO gets to decide how much time you spend being the CEO. Maybe you want to set aside 2 hours per week to work on your business. Well, the CEO gets to determine when that's going to be. Is it going to be Monday mornings? Is it going to be Wednesday afternoon? Or maybe it's going to be Friday evenings, whatever. The CEO will set a time for when you will be working on your business. And just like any other corporation out there, the employee cannot change or override the CEO's decision. So you have to have the discipline to say that, the CEO hat that I put on said that every Friday morning from 9 till 11 will be spent strategizing for the business. Well, when you're sitting at the employee's desk and that notice that you have that time on your calendar comes up, the employee shouldn't be able to say, oh, well, I really want to do that, but I've got this other important stuff to do, so I'm going to push that off. Just like any corporation, the employee cannot change or override the CEO's decision. I know it comes down to a mentality thing, and it may sound a little strange. I mean, you being both the CEO and the employee and having to act differently. But I just really liked the way he was presenting it and bringing it across, that you need to have both roles because, yes, you need the employee to keep the clients happy, to keep the jobs going out because that's how you get paid. But you need that CEO part of you in order to grow your business. Because if you're not doing that, if you're not taking the time to strategize, if you're not taking the time to figure out some marketing ideas, if you're not taking the time to review your pricing, figure out other things to do with your business will not grow the way you want it to. You need to do both. And yes, you will spend more time being the employee than you are being the CEO. But both jobs are equally important. And I love the strategy of stepping away from your desk to take on that CEO role. So if it is, as I mentioned, Friday morning from 9 to 11, step away from your desk. Go somewhere else in the house. Go for a drive somewhere. Go to a coffee shop. Go sit in a park, wherever, and go strategize for that time. Then come back and switch hats to be the employee. Now, the CEO also has the prerogative to assign tasks to the employee. So if the CEO decides that your website needs to be updated, they can assign that job just as any other project to the employee. And to the employee who's working on client work, the job that the CEO assigns to them should be no different. It's just another project to work on, and you add it to the queue. Again, this is all very meta because you're taking on both roles, but it makes sense if you actually think of yourself as two separate people. If there were two people, the CEO and the employee, your jobs would not be overlapping. Each would have their own tasks, their own things to accomplish. And just like any hierarchy, the CEO gets to dictate things to the employee. And the employee can't really override or change the decisions of the CEO. And if you can get it through your mind that that's the way a solopreneur has to work in order for the business to both grow and succeed, then it will really help you in the long run. So I'm hoping I'm giving this idea justice. As I'm going through it in my head, it's making sense to me, and I'm hoping it's making sense to you. But I know that I came away from that talk at WordCamp Canada, and I thought to myself, my CEO hat doesn't come out enough. And I'm making a point of scheduling time now specifically for that, to step away from my desk and strategize a future for my business. And I think you could do this too. And when implemented correctly, these two sides of a solopreneur will make one great business person. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. Now, I would love to know if you do something like this. Do you actually take time away from your desk to strategize your plan? Maybe you don't mentally call yourself the CEO and the employee. But do you actually schedule a block of time on your calendar that nothing else interferes with to work on your business? And if so, do you actually step away from your desk to do it elsewhere? I love this idea, and that's what I'm going to be doing, I think, from now on. So send me an email, feedback@resourcefuldesigner.com, and let me know. What do you do? How do you divide your time between CEO and employee? And what's your routine for growing your business? I would love to hear from you. Now, another great way to communicate with me is via the Resourceful Designer community. We're always talking back and forth, sharing ideas, helping each other out with both the CEO and employee side of the business. And we would love to have you be a part of it. To learn more and to join, visit resourcefuldesigner.com/community. So that's it for this episode. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate the time you spend with me, but that's it for now. Until next time, I am Mark Decote, your host, wishing you all the best with your design business and reminding you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.